First, I'd like to give a shout out to Mike McCown for sending me some pictures of his glass art. These are pictures of a glass flower that he made, which came out awesome. And here is a really cool implosion marble, which again is gorgeous as well. Thanks so much, Mike, for sending those in. And guys, send those pictures in. I'm always happy to post what you guys make in my videos. And this is Sim here from the Fusing Shop. And welcome to our glass blowing channel. In today's video, we are going to be pulling some Twisty cane. I'm going to be using 3 colors to make this cane. And it's going to look pretty cool when we're done. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. Okay, so I'm preheating this 10mm rod, and we're going to be using this as the base for our cane. So I'm getting one side nice and hot. This way the glass will stick to each other. Cold glass will never stick. You have to make sure that you get them both at least somewhat warmed up before the glass will attach to each other. And right now I'm going to lay down a bead. I forgot what color I was using here. I think it's Blue Moon, which is an awesome striking color. Highly recommend you guys give it a shot. And I'm just going to lay down a bead of that right along the glass. Make sure you heat like right where the 2 pieces of glass make that kind of like elbow that you see there, and you heat a little bit ahead of that, and the glass should lay down nice and smoothly for you. And then we're going to do a flame cut. Make sure you always cut your glass in the flame to avoid pulling thin stringers. And now I'm just giving it a little smush down to make sure everything's nice and flat and even. And there you go. You can see that color that we just put down on the clear. The next step we're going to do is fold this rod over. So just heat in one spot right where that color ends and get it nice and juicy hot. And when the glass starts to move, I have my tweezers there for support. So when the glass starts to move, I'm just going to gently guide it around and bend it right over. And I'm going to sandwich that color in between the 2 pieces of clear, as you see here. And now I'm just refining it, making sure everything looks good. And closing up any gaps. You don't want to have any gaps in between the glass, because that can make air bubbles in your piece, which could weaken your piece. So try to squeeze out any air before you go on to the next step. Now what I'm doing now is I'm just going to tack the end down. So the clear end of the rod, that is kind of pointy-ish, I'm going to attach that to the handle so they fuse together and the glass will be a little bit more stable. Right now the glass is stressed out, and we want to be careful as we proceed, because that could lead to cracks and things breaking. So keep that in mind, people. You need to keep the glass happy at all times as you're working it. Right now I'm giving the glass a smush, because I did have a little bit of a gap in between my color, which is fine. Just go ahead, reheat, and guide the glass where you need it to go. And it's okay if it doesn't look, stunning right now. We're still just getting started with this. And things take time to start to shape up. When I teach in the shop, sometimes it takes a student like over an hour before they even know what they want to make, as they're like melting and working with the glass. And then they're like, oh, this looks like a heart. And then I'm like, yeah. And then they start, refining and building on that shape. But here we already have a goal. We already know what we're going for. So then right now I'm going to lay down another bead of color. And I'm going to fill in that gap that I have when I folded that rod over. There's like a gap on both sides. So on one side, I'm going to lay down some purple. And the same process as we did before, which is get the tip of that purple rod nice and juicy hot so it starts to turn molten, and then preheat a little bit ahead of where you're melting and where the 2 pieces of glass attach, and you should have no problems laying it down. You should not have to muscle the glass. If you're muscling the glass, your heat is not in the right place. And if you guys could kindly smash that like button for me right now, it would be greatly appreciated. I do spend a lot of time making and editing these videos, and I do it all by myself. So if you could just give me a thumbs up, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you think my video is not good, you could also hit me with a thumbs down. I am here to learn, and to pass, show what I've learned to other people. And I always like hearing constructive feedback on, my techniques and what I could be doing better or easier. So by all means, guys, hit me with comments as well. I love hearing from everyone, and we're all here just to make a better glass blowing community. It's really what it's about. We're not here to put anyone down or say that this person sucks because they're doing this wrong. I really, there's so many haters on YouTube. We're just doing what we like here, chilling out, melting some glass. Right now I'm going to go ahead and coat that color with some clear. I always like encasing my color with clear. I think it just adds more depth to it and just looks really, really nice. So just go ahead and we're going to do the same thing as we did in the previous steps, except now we're using a clear rod, not color, it's clear, and just heating up the ball, just heating up the end, getting that nice and molten hot, and just running a bead of glass down and covering up that color. Again, make sure you do not trap air bubbles as you're doing this, and go nice and slow and be careful. Again, we are working with glass rods, and this is, a 10 millimeter rod that I'm using, but, you still want to be careful because glass can break. So you should, again, as I said before, you should not have to muscle the glass. It should move relatively smoothly and easily, as you see right here. I'm sorry my hand is in the way in this shot. I do my best with the camera angle, good people, and sometimes I get it spot on, and sometimes I don't find out that it's not good until I go to edit the video. So my apologies for that. Okay, just go ahead and keep doing this until you have completely encased your color, and you kind of want to even it out a little bit because we're going to be rounding this off. So you kind of want to make the clear even all around, and that's what I'm doing right now. And just do a flame cut, and I just wiggle my fingers back and forth to cut off that rod. I have a little bit of glass left on the ends, but that's fine because we're going to melt that all down in a minute. Right now, I'm getting a punty ready, and I should have had one prepped up, but sometimes I do things on the fly and I use what I have available. So we're going to make a hot seal with these two pieces, which is get both ends nice and juicy hot so they are both molten, and let the two pieces of glass flow into each other. When that's done, we're going to start heating everything up because, again, our glass is stressed out, so we want to keep everything nice and hot. And a nice even heat in the glass to keep the glass happy and from cracking. And I just went to get my rod grabber. That's why you saw me disappear for a minute. Since I'm using the outer flame on my torch now, it builds up a lot of heat, and you need to make sure that you have adequate length handles to compensate for that, because they're going to really start absorbing heat now because the flame is very hot and intense, and it's great for moving like large chunks of glass like I'm doing here. So right now I'm just rounding out those little I don't know, protrusions I guess you could call them, and we're just melting everything down so we get rid of all those gaps in the glass. It forms one nice solid chunk of glass, and we're also smoothing everything out so it rounds out. Because this way, when we go to pull it, it'll pull out nice and straight. And while I'm heating and marvering, well, let's do the dad joke for this video. And the joke is, what kind of ears do trains have? Engine ears. I really think that one's super cute. If you guys are fans of trains, then please leave a comment below. As I love trains when I was a kid. It was just like so fun and awesome. Okay, so back to the video. Right now, I'm heating and twisting and pulling the cane. And it depends on how tight you want to make your spirals. You could, twist it as tight as you want or as loose as you want. I like a lot of twists, so I'm going to twist it up pretty good right now. And keep pulling and twisting until the glass hardens up and you cannot pull anymore. Just make sure you keep that pressure on it so you get a nice straight piece of cane. And now I'm going to take off the rod holder, and we're going to flame cut one end off. Boom. And now we're going to do the same with the other side after I look at this piece of cane that I made. So these cool down relatively quickly. This one did not, so I used a tweezer. Careful when you hold these with the tweezer, because they do kind of like rotate and they can burn you. It's like that. So just be careful when you use the tweezer to do this. You could also use like tile nippers, are also great for cutting the cane. Right now I have some extra pieces available. So what I'm going to do for the rest of this video is I'll make an icicle with one. And this is going to be my icicle piece. And then for the other half, I'm going to use it to make another piece of cane. So you can hang around and watch me do that. Or you could skip to the end to see how the cane came out. Right now I'm hitting the glass with a nice gentle annealing flame, which is you turn up your propane. And that is just a nice soft flame, because the glass, again, like I said earlier, is super stressed out, especially when you twist it and pull it like I just did. And the glass doesn't like that. So we're just going to give it some nice gentle heat to avoid it from cracking and shattering on us. And you can see the soot building up on the end, which is normal. And that'll burn off when I turn the oxygen back up. So don't worry if you see soot forming on your glass. You could always just melt it off. Or if you put it in the kiln like that, you could just wipe it off when it comes out. Okay, so now we got it glowing nice and orange. And now the glass is much more stable. And what we're going to do is just straighten off that end that's getting a little bit floppy. And we're going to attach a punty to the end. This way we continue working on this piece. And what you could also do is pull more cane from this, which I'm going to show after I finish this icicle. Or you could add more twist, or you can make this into a pendant. There's like so many options you could do from this point. Right now I'm just, again, adding some more twist in the glass and pulling it out a little bit more. And I'm going to make the loop out of the cane, so this way it's a continuous, it's not going to be like a solid clear loop. It'll have the stripes all the way down. If you do have like a little bulge, you could go ahead and spot heat that area. And it doesn't take a lot of heat to move, just a little bit of heat, and then just give it a little twist and pull. And it'll even out the cane for you. Now I'm just going to heat that end, and this is going to be where we're going to make the loop. So we can hang this up and use it as a really cool decoration. So again, continuing to twist that glass. You can see it's still a lot of heat in there as the glass is still very orange. We're going to flame cut. There we go, looking good. And now we have a little bit of extra glass, and which I always prefer to have extra glass rather than not enough. So always go on a little bit longer side. And now we're going to tack weld that to the back to make one solid loop. And just getting everything positioned. Right now it looks like a mess. But again, that's going to be fixed in the next couple minutes. Again, the goal here is to just tack weld those pieces of glass together and start fusing and letting everything melt and flow. There we go, looking good. I turned the flame down a little bit because I didn't need a giant flame to do this part. Right now I'm just working on that weld, making sure it looks nice and good and smooth before going on. And you could always straighten out your glass or move that loop if you want to have it in a different location. And right now I have a little bit of thin glass there at the bottom. So right now I'm just going to let that glass flow down to there and help thicken up that thin glass. So just get some heat in there. You got to get pretty much the whole loop hot to do this. And you just got to be careful that you don't close down the hole. And use gravity to your advantage. Always going in with the reamer to round it out. And we're just going to give it a little push to push that glass where we need it to go and gently guide it. Careful not to keep your reamer in the fire. It is graphite, so it can temporarily go in the fire, but not for too long. So be careful not to keep anything graphite in the fire for too long. You don't want it to get red hot. Mine was beginning to get red hot, and that'll ruin your graphite. Okay, we are definitely making progress on the loop. The hardest part is making the loop. I make lots of loops, but everyone has a different challenge when you make this style loop. All right, just gonna straighten everything out. The glass is much more even now, and everything looks good. And here is a shot of the finished cane. I mean finished icicle or cane or whatever you want to call it. The last step is to flame cut off the end, and then we'll throw this in the kiln for annealing. I'm going to grab the loop with my tweezer, and again just hold that one end in the flame. Put my glasses on and flame cut off the end. Just like that. Make sure you dip it in the flame to make sure you fire polish off any scar marks that might have been left behind. And here's our last chunk of cane that we're going to be working with. And this one, I'm going to pull it out more and make a thinner, more tightly twisted piece of cane with this chunk. These also make really cool marbles. I have a video on this technique where you can make really cool twisty marbles with. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. I'm just getting a punty ready. I'm going to punty up to the thin side. And we did not work with this piece for a while. And the thin glass I'm not worried about, but it's the thicker glass that we have to be concerned about when we reintroduce glass into the flame, because the outside is cooling much faster than the inner core. So when you reintroduce into the flame, it can, pop or crack. So keep that in mind as you're working with the glass. Right now I'm just working from one end down, and I'm heating, twisting, and pulling. So I got a nice thin piece of cane. And just keep working your way down the line. This is not going to make as smooth as a piece of cane as the first one did. It's going to be a little bit more like kind of lumpy looking due to the sizes being like all weird and whatnot. But yeah, it still makes a nice piece regardless. See, I had like a little bump there. I'm just going to reheat it, pull it, and twist it. And there it just broke apart on me. And this is glass, working with glass, people. So I could have edited it out, but you should see that things happen all the time that you do not expect. And it's not what you can make, it's what you can make when things go wrong. See, I just lost another chunk off that of that punty too. And again, it's where that glass was thicker. So that is normal. If you do not keep your glass nice and warm, that it will break on you like that. So right now I have just a real temporary seal holding the two together. We don't need anything crazy because we're just going to pull out a little bit more cane and add some more twists in there too. And that is looking pretty good. And flame cut off the end. Give it a flame polish. And I decided not to test the temperature of the glass this time and just use my tweezers to hold it and do the flame cut. Just be careful when you do it with the tweezers. Here is the finished cane. Came out pretty awesome. You can see all those three colors in there. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.